Hi there Booktube, it's Eleanor here and today is Friday, so it's time for Friday Reads. Today my Booktuber shout out goes to Rosie at Sparkles Books. She's a relatively new booktuber and one that I've only discovered recently, and I've really been enjoying watching her videos. She's a UK booktuber, which is always nice to see because there is not as many of us as I would like, and she reads really interesting books, some very similar to me. And she's just a joy to watch, so check her out and I will link her down below, and if you like what you see, subscribe, and I'm sure you will. Anyway, I want to make this video quite quick today because I'm likely to go into a big coughing fit if I take too long. So firstly, I want to talk about the books that I've read so far as part of the 12 days of comics. This was something that I discovered on Amanda Engel's channel, and I've talked about it in my TBR for the 12 days of comics. She decided she was going to read a comic a day or a trade a day off of her list of books that she had to read because she wanted to get through some of the ones on her shelves. I thought it was a great idea and I wanted to take part, and so I have been. So you may have seen me talk recently about the fact that I had added another book to my reading, and I was reading 2 books at a time. I was reading a non-fiction and a fiction. Well, since then I've got a non-fiction and a fiction. I've got a big book, and I've also got a comic or a trade every day. So I'm now reading 4 books at a time and I'm really enjoying it. So let's talk about the comics that I've read. I've managed to read 1 a day so far since the 12th. I'm doing the 12th to the 24th. The first one that I picked up was Mouse Volume 1, My Father Bleeds, which is by Art Spiegelman. I decided to pick these up in a charity shop, both volumes 1 and 2. So on day 1 of 12 days of comics, I read volume 1, and on day 2, I read volume 2. I read volume 1 along with the lovely Sarai at Sarai Talks Books, and it was really nice to read along with her. I think for this, unfortunately, and I can't speak for Sarai, but this was not my favourite. I really had high hopes for this. I'm not big into war stories, so it had a little bit of you know, an effort to do anyway in order to get me engaged. I really liked the idea about the mice and the cats, but I really felt after reading it that it was irrelevant. It didn't really add anything to the story. It didn't do anything other than sort of a little bit of symbolism. There wasn't any, I don't know, there wasn't anything. I just felt like I didn't understand why it was in there. The story was relatively good, and obviously it's a story about the Holocaust. It's a story about concentration camps. It's a horrible story because we know it's real, we know it's happened, we know that people have been through things like this, and it's an incredibly personal story. And so, you know, obviously it's an important story, but I just didn't like the way that it was written or came across, and I didn't like, I'm assuming this is, you know, his biography, I didn't like Art Spiegelman very much and the way that he was with his dad. So unfortunately these weren't my favourite, and I just gave them 3 stars. The next one that I picked up was Lady Killer Volume 1 by Joel Jones and Jamie S. Rich, and this is a very interesting story about a 1950s housewife who is an assassin on the side. She doesn't believe in guns, so she uses her hands and she takes on jobs, takes on personas, all the while still running a household with 2 children, cooking dinner for her husband, and no one is none the wiser. But there's a bit of a backstory there that we don't know much about. Whoever it is that's her boss decides that she's a liability, and her handler is given the task of trying to get rid of her, and it's just a really fun story, and I'm really excited to see where it goes. It reads very much like, I'm trying to think of, it's a bit Mr. and Mrs. Smith, but obviously with that you've got the husband who's also involved, or sort of Charlie's Angels-ish, and I don't know, I just really enjoyed it. It was really good fun and something a bit different, and I gave this one 4 stars. Next I picked up issues 2 and 3 of Paper Girls, which is written by Brian K. Vaughan, and after the first issue I enjoyed it, but I was just like, whoa, where's this going? It's about a girl who's on her paper route in the 80s, I think it's set 80s, which I thought was really interesting because I'm a child of the 80s. And she's on her paper route, she meets the other paper girls, it's just after Halloween, and then something weird happens, a bit sort of science fiction-y, and then so in issues 2 and 3 we were sort of expecting it all to come out and find out a bit more, and it was just really weird. There's still not much been explained. It still doesn't make much sense. I keep reading on because I'm hoping there's going to be some sort of explanation in there, but if I'm honest, I may not pick up any more of these. I might just give this one a miss. But they were okay, so I gave each of these 3 stars. And then finally, so far, I picked up Invisible Republic Volume 1, and this is a story, again, one of those stories where it's a little bit complicated for me to understand what's going on. Basically, from what I can gather, I quite liked the artwork. It was very dark, but I quite enjoyed it. It's about a journalist. I don't think he's a very good journalist, but he uncovers a diary which is from what seems to be the sort of dictator of this Earth's or this universe's cousin, and it's sort of, you're flashing to and from the diary entry which is in the past about sort of her and her cousin and his sort of rise to power, and then you're also in the present following this journalist who is people are trying to stop him from researching and finding out more about this story. It was a little bit confusing about what was going on and what the Earths were and where the Earths were and how many Earths there were, and yeah, the world building wasn't great for me in this, but the story was okay. I'm not sure I'm going to carry on with this, but it was okay, and I gave it 3 stars. So I'm filming this a day early, so you're seeing it on Friday, but it's actually Thursday. So today I'm going to be reading up I'm going to reread my issue 1 of Archie, and then I'm going to read I think issues 2, 3 and 4 as well, to get me up to date with the Archie comics. So that is my reading for Thursday, and then tomorrow I will pick up another one, so I'll wrap up those in next week's. So now onto the books that I've read this week. I've completed 1 book and 1 short story collection. The short story collection was Don't Try This at Home by Angela Redman. As you may know, I do struggle with short story collections. This one was no exception, unfortunately. It wasn't. I'm still waiting for that sort of 5-star short story collection. However, I did really enjoy a couple I've marked. I've started marking things. I enjoyed 2 stories, especially in this. I enjoyed one called Birds Without Wings, which is a story about a girl and her mother, and the pressures that mothers put on daughters to be thin and beautiful, and it was quite a poignant read, and it was one that I found very interesting. And the second one I really enjoyed was called Shine On. This is about a teenage mother, and it's an interesting story, and because it's about motherhood, I felt a connection with it. These stories were all meant to be about prejudice and age and status and disability prejudice, and I could see that in there, but they were okay. But again, I just struggle with short stories because they don't seem to have enough time to get the plot going, and they just seem a bit sort of yeah. And that's probably because I don't maybe read them properly, or maybe they just don't suit me. I don't know, but I'm going to keep trying. But I did like those 2 particular stories in this one. And if you like short stories, I definitely recommend picking up. It's a beautiful book, and it's definitely one of my favourites short story collections that I've read, which isn't saying great things, but I did enjoy it, and I gave this one 3 stars. And the final book I completed this week was The Secret of Happy Ever After by Lucy Dillon. I have found myself a new adult contemporary romance author. I really enjoyed this book. It was Christmassy, it was heartwarming, it was set in a bookshop, it was about friendship, there was dogs. I mean, it just ticked every box. The story is basically about 2 women. We've got Anna and Michelle. Michelle's moved to this small village. She's left her husband. We're not quite sure what's gone on there, but she's left him and she has started a business. She owns a sort of, not a knick-knack shop, but one of those really beautiful sort of home decor type shops that have loads of beautiful individual pieces in, and she's making a go of it in the town. The next door shop comes available, but the owner of it only wants it to be used in its current state as a bookshop, so you can, do it up, but he wants it kept primarily for selling books. Michelle doesn't really want it for that, but she decides she's going to take it on as that and then eventually turn it into an extension of her shop. And her friend Anna, who she has been friends with since she moved to the village after a chance encounter, is an ex-librarian who lost her job when the library shut down and is perfect to take over as the manager. And so she asks her and she agrees. Anna is married and she has three girl stepchildren, and the stepchildren are all living with her at the moment because the ex-wife lives in America, and it's all about their life, their relationship. It's about the friendship between the two women, uncovering secrets, and it's set at Christmas, and I loved it. I really, really loved it, and I gave this one 4 stars, probably closer to 4.5. It was just a really lovely read, and I'm definitely going to be trying some more Lucy Dillon books. So that's the books that I finished this week. I'm extremely proud of myself, and I am still doing my 50 pages a day with a Count of Monte Cristo. Me and Jackie are currently around the 850 page mark, so we've got maybe 350, 400 pages left, and we have set ourselves a challenge to try and finish this by Christmas, which is doable if we keep going at this sort of 50 page a day pace, and we're really, really enjoying it, and I'm so pleased that I got to this book, and I'm loving the 50 pages a day. So in future, if I try and read a big book and it's daunting, that's exactly what I'm going to do. And I have to say, I wouldn't be getting through it if it wasn't for Jackie. I think having someone else to be accountable to, someone else to really enjoy reading with and to discuss the book has really kept it going, kept it being enjoyable, stopped me from sort of getting bored or giving up. And not that this book is boring, because it's not at all, but I think with a long book, my attention span struggles a little bit. So it's great that I'm reading other books alongside it. But also because I know that me and Jackie are both trying to read 50 pages a day and that I want to chat to her about it, it spurs me on to get those 50 pages read and not say, well, tomorrow I'll just read 100. Oh, well, tomorrow I'll read 150. So I'm really, really enjoying this, and I can't wait to finish it. And a couple of you have asked if I will do a review of it once it's finished, and I will endeavour to do that for you. You may have to give me a little while to get my thoughts together and to coherently put a review together, but I will endeavour to do that for you. I'm also not very far into, but currently reading 2 AM at the Cat's Pyjamas by Marie Helen Bertino. This is quite a short book, but one I'm quite enjoying. It's a little bit quirky. Again, it's set in Christmas. It's about a jazz club. It's the night before Christmas Eve, and it's about a number of different people whose paths cross, and it's just a really interesting, fun book. So that's all the books I've read, and the graphic novels and comics that I've read, and I look forward to hearing what you've read. Let me know if you've read any good books this week. Have you read any good Christmassy feel-good books, and what are you planning on reading over the Christmas period? And definitely check out Rosie from Sparkles Books. She's a lovely lady and a great booktuber, and she definitely deserves more subscribers. So I hope you all go over there and check her out. Anyway, that's it for me today, and I look forward to speaking to you soon. Bye for now, Booktube.